Hi aspiring writers, writing coach Stephanie Newell, and this is the Life of a Writer channel. Today's video, how to write a memoir. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will help you to turn your life experiences into a book that you can be proud of. If you want to learn how to connect with readers and sell more books, make sure to subscribe as I post new videos every Tuesday. So as many of you know, I coach first-time nonfiction writers, and a lot of my clients are memoir writers, and memoir writers deal with very personal issues such as adoption and health conditions and domestic violence and sexual assault. And so because of that, I have taken a special interest in doing a series around writing a memoir because I know that so many of you need information on how to move forward. So in this video, my goal is to provide for you a logical way to write your memoir so that it benefits your readers. So let's get into tip number 1. So tip number 1 is to be clear on why exactly you're writing a memoir. Now, of course, this is going to be different for every single person because, it's dependent on the personal experiences that you're going to be sharing. But the reason why I feel this is such an important tip is because you're going to be rehashing and reliving all of these experiences all over again, whether they're negative experiences or positive experience. You need to remember at the root why you want to write this memoir. Now, for most people, it's a simple answer. They feel that someone can benefit from hearing their story, and that's sufficient. But I want you to explore why you're writing it, because there's going to be some times, especially if you're writing a memoir and it has negative experiences in it, you're going to be reliving all of those different experiences, and you're going to feel like, why am I doing this? So I want you to have that at the forefront of your mind so that you know from the start of writing your manuscript exactly why you're writing a memoir. So tip number 2 is to figure out the theme for your book. So for some people, there will be one theme for your book, while other people may have multiple themes for their book, and there's no right or wrong way. So for example, let's say you experienced a financial crisis in your life. That may be the entire theme for your book, and there's nothing wrong with one theme for your book. As a matter of fact, one theme makes it easier to find your target audience. So a suggestion that I like to give, if you have or you find that you're going to have multiple themes throughout your book, where possible, make sure that those themes connect with each other. And the reason why you want to make sure that those themes connect is because, again, we're going to be trying to find a target audience of people that can relate to this subject matter. And if you're all over the place with this theme and that theme and this theme and they don't connect, it makes it harder for you to narrow in on a target audience that will appreciate your book. Jump down in the comment section and share with me the themes for your memoir. Tip number 3 is to remember your book doesn't have to be linear. So before we get into a conversation about what that means exactly, I want to give a little definition of what a memoir is, because for a lot of first-time writers, they get confused on the difference between a memoir and an autobiography. So a memoir is going to cover specific events that have happened in your life, and that's kind of the reason why I said in tip number 2 to think about the themes, because you're going to be covering specific events that happen. Whereas an autobiography, usually which is done on a celebrity or political figure or something of that nature, it covers their entire life. So that's going to be really important to remember. So the reason why I'm saying you don't have to write linear, for a lot of first-time writers, they're going to find that to be comfortable. This is what happened in 2018, this is what happened in 2019, and this is what is happening present day. And if that feels the most comfortable for you, by all means, write in that manner. The point of this tip is to tell you that that is not the only way to write a memoir. Now, the one thing that is important to remember is that we're trying to write a memoir that engages our target audience. We want them to know that this is the right memoir for them, that they can walk away from this book having learned more about you, and also being able to assess how, it can help and benefit them as the reader. So you have to have a strong introduction. So for some people, telling your story in a linear manner will make sense. For other people, depending on what your experiences are that you're sharing, you might want to start at current day. You might want to start with the tragic event that happened. You might want to start with the positive experience that happened. It really just depends. So I want to make sure that you guys are clear on it doesn't have to be written in one specific way. It doesn't have to be this happened this year, this happened the following year, and this is happening now. Tip number 4, be transparent. So one of the things that a lot of my clients struggle with is wondering how writing a memoir is going to affect other people around them. Our lives intertwine with other people. So one of the things that my clients struggle with is, how will other people feel about me writing and sharing my experiences? So the first thing that I want to say to you is that you are well within your right to share your personal story. No one can take that away from you. However, you just might want to take some care in how you share those different experiences. So for some of my clients, they decide to actually go to the person that they're going to be sharing, let them know that I'm going to be sharing my story. I'm going to be sharing my story from my perspective, not to hurt you, not to be disrespectful in any way, but I'm sharing it from my vantage point. This is how I saw things as happening, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Other people will decide to just write it whether they get consent or not, and I don't guess there's anything wrong with that so long as somebody doesn't come back with some kind of legal ramifications. And I don't get into the legal side because that is not my area of expertise, but I will put down in the description box a link to an article that talks about the legal ramifications of including other people in your books. Another way that people go about handling it is by basically changing the name and all of the identifying factors so that people can't figure out exactly who you're talking about. Another option is to go with a pen name, and then no one will ever be able to piece back who you are. But the most important thing, going back to being transparent, is remember, you are not obligated to write a memoir. This is something that you chose to do. So you're not obligated to share all of your different personal experiences, but the experiences that you do choose to share, be as authentic and transparent as possible, because that's going to be relayed to your reader. They are going to appreciate your sharing it in that way because they'll be able to connect with your story. But tip number 5 is also very important. Create an outline. The reason why creating an outline is important is because, again, going back to tip number 2, we talked about themes and thinking about the things that we want to talk about. We don't want to steer too far away from what those themes are for our books. So by writing an outline and seeing visually on paper exactly the experiences that you want to talk about, putting them in a logical order so that it makes sense for the readers, whether that's linear or not, you want to create an outline so that when you get ready to sit down to your computer, you know exactly what it is that you want to write. While writing a memoir is definitely a difficult process because for some people, like I said, you're talking about, negative experiences that you have. And again, not all memoirs are negative experiences, but from my experience working with my clients, a lot of the memoirs are. You want to be clear on what it is that you're talking about. So maybe one day you're going to sit down to your computer and you're not in the mindset to discuss X, Y, or Z. You can skip over that chapter because you know exactly the order in which you need to write it. So an outline is going to be important because, listen, you know your life. You just need it to be in a logical order so that you know exactly what it is that you need to write as soon as you sit down to your computer. And this is going to be so helpful because for most first-time authors, one of the things that they struggle with is, what do I write? But if you know and you have an outline and you know the exact order that you're going to put it in, and you have an outline that is perfect for your target audience, it's going to be much easier to write your memoir.